Few people realize that before I made even the first video for Khan Academy, the whole point of Khan Academy was to be an exercise, practice, feedback, reporting engine for students, for parents, and for teachers. And the first videos were really just a way to complement that. So even if we go back as far back as 2005, we had a lot of exercises on Khan Academy. And when we got our first real funding in 2010, that's where we invested most heavily. Now that the Common Core has come out, and not only has it come out, not only have the standards been published, but now that there's a sense of the adoption, there's a sense of how it is going to be assessed, we've decided to do a serious push to intentionally make sure that our exercises match the Common Core. Now, I want to be very clear here. Our intention isn't to just map to the Common Core because a lot of states have happened to adopt it. Our intention is not to map to just superficially take some content and do a superficial mapping to the Common Core. The whole purpose of why we're doing this is when we looked at the standards, when we looked at the items coming out of the assessment consortia from Smarter Balanced, from PARCC, we realized that this is a very, very, very good standard. It's a rigorous standard. It's going to measure real, deep student understanding. And there's going to be a huge need for students and teachers and parents to have resources where they can get practice, get feedback, get explanations around Common Core subjects. And so what you see right over here is a screen of our Common Core site. This is a place, this is really a dashboard where teachers or parents or even students can look at Common Core standards and then think about which Khan Academy content maps to that standard. It's available at khanacademy.org/Common Core. And you could go by different grade levels, grade 7, grade 8, and you could see the different Khan Academy exercises that cover that standard. And we're actually in process on doing this right now. We have a team of teachers, of professors, of graduate students who are working closely with us, working very closely with many of the authors of the Common Core itself to make sure that we intentionally create content that really hits at the conceptual spirit of the Common Core. And just as a sense of the type of team we're looking at, of the type of folks who are working on this with us, let me show you our team page. So if you go to the bottom of any Khan Academy page and you go to our content specialist, you'll go to this page right over here. And this is just a sample of the folks who are working with us. Many of them are experts in developmental mathematics, in early learning. Some of them are graduate students. Some of them are professors of mathematics at the university level. But it's a really high quality team of folks who have been helping us make sure that we have really deep and really peer vetted content intentionally created for the Common Core. And once again, it's not just so because 40-something states have adopted it. We like the Common Core because we think when properly implemented, and that's a very important thing to say, when properly implemented, it is really trying to measure deep conceptual understanding. And so I encourage you to look at the bios of all of these folks here, and we're constantly adding more and more people to collaborate on this effort. To see the type of content that they're creating, it's anything from fairly simple exercises like this. Rewrite the expression 75 plus 20 in the following form. And the whole point of this is to measure, or to test whether does someone really understand the distributive property. And we've built tools and widgets so that we can do free expression entry around it. So for example, 75 plus 20, we would want to factor out, let's see, we could factor out a 5, and that's 5 times, we could write that as 25, or 15, I should say, 15 plus 4. And I should write this down as a multiplication symbol, just like this. And there you have it. We've written this in the form that they wanted, and we can check our answer. So this is just a very simple widget to understand, does someone understand factoring and kind of undoing the distributive property? But then there's more complicated problems. And this is really the spirit of the Common Core. A lot of times in an algebra class, you'll have people talking about functions, evaluating functions, but the spirit of the Common Core is to really understand what a function is saying and really constructing functions. So this is an example of a word problem, an application problem, where the student really has to interpret the function to make some fairly nuanced conclusions about what's going to happen given the data that's going on. We also have things like this that are widgets that actually kind of are, for lack of a better word, virtual manipulatives to help build these content items. So for example here, move each expression to the right category to indicate if each one is less than, equal to, or greater than 6/7. So the student will say, okay, let's see. 5/7 plus 4/7, that's 9/7. And that's greater than 6/7. Let's see, 2 plus, let's see, this is going to be 5/7, that's less than. This right over here is going to be, let's see, this is going to be exactly equal to 6/7, and you get the general idea over here. And then we have things like this, and these are all written by experts in their field. These are written by people who are looking very closely at the standards, they're working with specialists, they're working with some of the folks who've even written the standards and being trained by the folks who've been written the standards to come up with these questions. To once again, really go at the conceptual understanding that the standard is trying to call out. So over here in the number 47,339, how many times less is the value of the second 3 than the value of the first 3? So the second 3 represents 30. It's in the tens place. It's 3 tens. This 3 is in the hundreds place. It represents 3 hundreds. So 30 is 10 times less than 300. So you would type in 10. So this is just an example where we've actually just coming this fall, we have on the order of 100 exercises that have been intentionally created for the Common Core. And it's not just the exercises, but on top of that, we have a whole series of videos that have been intentionally created for the Common Core as well. So for example, in this one, this interpreting features of functions, we have a whole series of videos that explain the underlying idea behind what's going on. So as we go over the next few months and definitely over the next year, especially because fall of 2014 is when you're going to have major adoption of the Common Core in most of the country, the goal is to have all of the major standards covered from K through high school and then even beyond, for us to really be a superset of the Common Core. And that's the goal by next fall. Even this fall, we want to cover most of the major standards starting this fall, going through middle school, and we're going to be aggressively adding content above and beyond that. And for regions, whether it's states or countries that are not using the Common Core, I want to emphasize that we're not doing this just to cater to the Common Core states. We want to do this because we want to have rigorous math content and exercises on the site that would hopefully allow students to succeed in any environment that they're in. So we are really intending to be a superset, not a exact covering of the Common Core.